Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Experience Kills. I am your host today, Ben, and with me I have the wonderful Rob.
Hello everyone, how's everyone doing today?
Well, due to the nature of this format, they can't reply directly, but I'm hoping everybody's having a great time, Rob.
That is a very good point. It's what the comment section is for, Ben. That's what the comment section is for.
Get in those YouTube comments, give us those comments. We love that. We love talking to you guys, so please do that. But I'm going to get straight into this. Because it's an interesting game. I won't say weird, it's not weird, it's interesting. So I've been playing She Sees Red, which is this new interactive movie experience brought to us by Rhino Tales, who are, I think, a pretty small outfit in Russia. And, you know, if you go onto their website, they say, you know, we are focused on making cinema, on film, and that is what this is. I believe they haven't even have like trailers up for this, and there may even be like a conventional theatrical release of this game as a film. I did try to do some digging, and it looked like that might be the case, but I could be completely wrong, but so you might want to ignore that. But anyway, She Sees Red is this thriller. It's in two language options. You have it in either Russian or English, and I've played it in a bit of both. When it started up originally and I was playing it and it came through with the English language dub over the actors, it was like, what's wrong? Why is the lip syncing not working? And I was a little bit confused, and then I realized, oh, it's because they're not actually speaking in English. And then I put the Russian on, and being the nature of the film fan I am, I'd much rather watch in the original language with subtitles than watch a dubbed version of just about anything. The dub's fine though. Some of the performances came across as a bit corny, but that might have been, the actual direction choice. It might have just been the nature of, finding some English voice actors. I really don't know, but I preferred it in the original Russian. And basically this is a choose-your-own adventure type interactivity, which means you get basically two options come up on the screen, maybe a dozen or so times throughout the experience of the movie, maybe a bit more than that, and you can go left or right. Basically, you have two choices. You can pick either the left choice or the right choice, and that will have an impact on the scenes you see and how the story of the movie unfolds. And what I thought was particularly interesting is that it's not the longest movie, and it's actually quite short, but it's tried to encourage sort of repeat playthroughs. It wants you to go through it multiple times to uncover the different scenes to get the full idea of what's going on. And I do advise you do this because it felt like the game was moving along, it was going alright, I was making some choices, things were happening, there was a fight here, there was some discussion here, stuff happened, and then all of a sudden, in like quite a short period of about 5 minutes, it started wrapping up, and it's like, here's some big story beats, big moments happen, big reveals, and I really kind of didn't understand everything that happened on my first playthrough, and I do think that is definitely intentional, and subsequent playthroughs, which is what the game's all about, will give you more context and more explanation as to what's going on with these characters and what the fuck the story's about. Because one of the problems here is that we are dealing with a foreign language film, and it's done in a very particular style, which is quite noirish and quite dark and sinister. It's not particularly violent or horrific or anything like that, though there was a moment at the end where I was like, oh, did he really just shoot? Oh damn, okay. And that was quite a big reveal, but I'm obviously going to avoid spoilers here, because otherwise why would you even bother trying this game out if you knew what was going to happen? You wouldn't. There'd be absolutely no reason to, because for all intents and purposes there is no gameplay. You are literally making these binary choices that come up every few minutes, and that's it. And until you do those subsequent playthroughs, you really don't understand the impact those choices have, and they are quite important. And I think that's kind of what's clever about this. I think they understood that if they want to have this multi-layers of choice, it can't be a long experience. It needs to be condensed, because it does have these splitting storylines that come off of it. And if you're going to try and do 2 hours of movie, Bandersnatch style on Netflix, these guys don't have millions, in the bank. Though saying that, it's shot quite well. It's, clearly on a budget, but it looks decent enough. It sounds decent enough. There's no technical problems. Yeah, that's She Sees Red. Rob, have you got... I know I've just been talking for about 5 minutes now about this, but have you got any kind of questions or thoughts on this type of video game experience? It's not the most common, but we've seen a few of them. There's a particular publisher that puts them out in the UK. I think I was telling you about it earlier, and it's kind of like a growing medium. So yeah, have you experienced much of these?
They're not games that I've played many of. I dabbled in the Game of Thrones sort of interactive storyline game at one point, like Tales from the Borderlands, but they're not ones I've ever really followed through on. This one looks quite interesting. I'm quite liking the fact that it's live action. That's a good change. I'm liking that because it, I think, is almost more immersive when you compare it to something like with a big franchise behind it that you can insert yourself into quite well. It's never going to be the same as something that you can see real people making the real choices that you're plugging in at various points. I mean, when you go through, are you following the perspective of one person that you're making the choices for, or does it kind of flit between a few different perspectives that you're making these choices for? How does that work?
It's mostly from the perspective of one person, and then it does broaden out a little bit when you understand the connection between two of the characters. So you are mostly making choices for the one character. The problem actually being that character is the least developed of all of them, which makes it difficult to actually give many shits as to the choices you're making, which is unfortunate because, you know, this is literally, there's no spoilers here because it's in the first few seconds of the movie. You'll see this is this hooded, mysterious character, and who he is and who he turns out to be is kind of part of the reveal of the film. But what that means is at the beginning when you're making these choices, you're kind of like, well, whatever, I'll just left, right, who cares what I'm doing? I have no invested interest in anything this guy's doing. And it doesn't really get any better until the very end of the experience. And this is obviously a very particular narrative choice that they've made here, but I'm not sure it brought me in. I think it's interesting that you talked about Telltale as your closest touchstone to this. There is a lot more game into the Telltale experiences as there is in this. You can literally play this, I believe it's on iOS and all kinds of mobile devices as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if it just turns up on streaming services. There is almost no interactivity here. I mean, it's literally left, right choices. There is no game. So it's a case of, are you in the mood to more than play a game, to watch a Russian foreign language film that's been made on a tight budget? Because that's what you have here, is you have more like indie cinema than you do indie gaming. And that's fine, and it's actually kind of cool that it's experimental in that regard. And like I mentioned, it's kind of reminiscent of the Wales Interactive stuff. So that's like The Bunker, Complex, Late Shift, which is one I particularly like, which they've all put out. And it's in that vein, so live action, interactive movie. But those all felt like they had more money, honestly, like they had bigger budgets and higher concept. This is all set in basically one location. The sets do look kind of ropey at times. The acting isn't terrible, but it's also sort of cliche and on the nose, and the runtime, it does hurt it because you just don't spend enough time with the characters to get that invested in the choices that you're making and what they're doing in there as well. Like I said, multiple playthroughs will help. It's an easy 1,000 gamer score, which is good for a lot of people, and obviously the price point isn't ridiculous either, so there is a low barrier to entry here. But you have to be very honest with yourself and ask yourself, is this something I want to experience right now? It's not going to be for everyone because it doesn't really fall into any easy to quantifiable camps. It's a weird little thing that I kind of dig for its weirdness, but I don't dig for its goodness. Do you know what I mean?
Certainly a unique take on the storyline game, because we have seen the surge of those sorts of games where they're more of an interactive story as opposed to a game experience. We've seen those coming to the fore in recent years. So I think having it be live action, that is a big step in the right direction, and I think that could lead to the potential of more in this sort of vein. Maybe not with this developer, maybe with other bigger developers, I don't know, but I think this is definitely kind of the start point for that sort of development.
Yeah, it's a developing genre of itself, and that is exciting. That's what as a fan of film, as a film buff, and a fan of video games as a gamer, combining those two loves, I always want to check these games out because it's watching the kind of evolution of the FMV movie experience, and I'm always keen to see what comes out, which is why I was so keen to see this. However, that Venn diagram of interests that falls so squarely for me, I suspect isn't as common as the developers / filmmakers here may have hoped. I just don't know who the audience is in a wide sort of perspective, but I don't think that means you should ignore this. I think it's worth checking out. Check out the trailer online, see what you think about, you know, the acting, the performances, the set, the concept, and then from that, make your purchase or not. I think that's the best thing you do. Obviously, you've watched this video, listen to me ramble about this, but unless you've got anything else, Rob, I'm going to wrap that one up here. No.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Certainly going to be interesting to see what happens with this genre moving forward.
So that was She Sees Red by Rhino Tales, which is out now. I played it on Xbox One X, though it's available on just about every platform imaginable because it doesn't really require any sort of specifications to run it, so you can play it just about anywhere, which is great, very accessible in that regard. You can obviously check us out further in our audio forms if you don't have time to watch these videos, so I really hope you watch this one because I was literally talking about a film, so that would be helpful in that regard. But you can check us out on iTunes and Spotify and anywhere a good podcast can be found. We would really appreciate a like and subscribe on the video and the channel. We're approaching a massive milestone for us, and it'd be great if you can help us get there. You can find me on Twitter at DIYE. You can find Experience Kills at, strangely enough, Experience Kills, and you can find Rob at a hitherto undisclosed location on Twitter, though he may be sorting that out soon. So until next time, I think that brings us to the end, Rob. We'll be back soon for more video game chat. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.